Hello everybody and welcome back to another product review. And this week is kind of this, it's sort of a continuation of a previous review because this week we're going to be talking about these two. The final two colors in the Vallejo Metal Color range, which are gold and copper. Now, unlike the steel, which you saw me in the previous product review talk about, here you don't have a big range. So there's something like, I don't know, like 15, 16 steel colors. This is it. In your golds, these are your options. Gold and copper. Okay? So the first thing I'll say about the range is it's a bit limited. Now, obviously these can be mixed. They're standard acrylic paints. You can put them together with any other metal you have, including other things in the metal color line. But as a base range, they are fairly limited. You've got these two. Just like the steel, they come in these larger 32-ounce dropper bottles. They are about $10 retail a piece. I actually consider that quite a good deal, given the fact that if you buy one of these, it will probably last you forever. I mean, this is so much paint in these, and you use so little of it because its coverage is amazing. Just like the steel line, they blend and mix really easily and well. And you actually can sort of move these two and interact with them. You kind of use the gold to highlight the copper or something like that. You can also make more of a bronze color if you want out of the copper. All of that's possible. So for this case, we're going to move these guys to the side here because we're going to work on our old friend. We remember him from previous videos, such as our blending and our shades and our freehand. And now we're going to finally get to his armor. So he's got a lot of little armor around here. And we're going to paint that with this copper color, and we're going to highlight it with a little bit of the gold so you can see how that looks. After I'm done with this, I'm going to actually show it through the airbrush as well, and so I'll show you how easily this works with an airbrush. So this time I realized I didn't do that previously, and so we're going to do both. So I just put a little drop of it on my wet palette. It is just like with the metal color. It is a very liquid paint. It has a lot of fluidity to it. So you want to make sure you're definitely, like, if you look at that there, you can see how strong that coverage is. Incredible natural reflection. Very, very good interplay with the light. So we're going to start with the copper here. And I realized I need there it is. I set it out here. I forgot to stick him to it. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do to start is we're going to just go ahead and apply the copper to his armor. You can see, he was just primed gray or something, right? Not brown like you often have to do with gold. And as you can see, the coverage on this, it's insane. I just dipped it into the palette, and you can just see in one coat, I get just this perfect natural reflection, the reflective copper. Quick, easy, painless, goes on smooth. What amazes me about this paint, and it's true with the regular metal color line as well, not just its ability to cover, but then its ability to then simultaneously also blend. As I said in the previous video, Vallejo has achieved some kind of weird sorcery with this, so you can see just how crisp that is. It's amazingly reflective, amazingly bright. It's just a really fantastic color. So let's get his back here. Now, because this is acrylic, you can use it with washes and all sorts of things like that. Just like you would with any normal metal paint. But you can see very quickly we've got that guy and his armor basically done and ready to go. Not perfect, but that's okay. It'll work. So there we go. I would probably take a little more time, but I don't think that's what you really care about for this series. So there we go. Nice copper armor. Now, obviously, we could wash that down. Okay. So, like, I could hit that with some of our old friend, Mr. Agrax Earthshade, and I will show you that during the airbrushing, that you can, blow on the Agrax to sort of dull it down or something like that. In this case, because I really want to show you how to wash a model, and I really want to show you the way the highlights look more than anything. We're going to just jump straight into that step, even though that would be a bit out of order, but that's okay. That's okay. So what I'll say about this gold is it's interesting because it kind of has a slight hint of green to it, I think, is what I would say. So if you can see the copper on my thumb there. Okay. That's your gold. So it's a strange, almost like greeny, silvery gold. So what I'm going to do here is literally just highlight this like skull on the front. And as well as a few other pieces, like I'll pull some paint down here toward the bottom of his legs, these little leg plates. Maybe grab the little, I don't know what I should know what this thing is called, his little, I don't know, the thing around the skull. Get the very top of the plate. So you can see how that, let me see to make sure that's reflective. It's kind of hard to tell because it's so reflective and so bright. But you can see how that highlights that. And of course, I can also just put them together. So I'll grab kind of two and mix it up here a little. And so, again, just like the other ones, they mix very easily. So now let's see what our midtone looks like. So you can see what you get out of that when I put the two together. And then I can just use that to smooth out those transitions, right? Obviously, if I were going to do this seriously, I would have to do, mess around with this a little more. But it really is shockingly smooth in how easy this goes together. Okay, so there we go. Fairly smooth little transitions. And of course, we can keep playing around with how much we want to push those blends and such. What's interesting is because it's such a liquid paint, it's actually quite easy to wet blend on the model. It doesn't really require much in the way of retarder or anything like that. But there we go. You can see he's got some nice copper armor. Okay. So, now we're going to jump over to the airbrush booth, and we will just go ahead and give it a spray, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we're over in the airbrush booth now, and we're going to go ahead and spray some of this, spray some of the copper. We're going to start with the actual copper color. We've got the rail golem here from Vallejo, and I've primed him up with some sort of dark brown / black, kind of a ruddy brown, because I want this to be a very ruddy model overall. It's going to have some iron worked into it and stuff like that. And then you'll notice here he's got like a little bit of white and such because there's going to be things I do later on. So we've got that. He's just all prepped up with some liquid mask and stuff like that. But what we're going to focus on here is mainly getting the copper over the body. So we've got some of the copper down in our airbrush. You can see not much. Also, you can see my airbrush really needs to be cleaned. I haven't cleaned it yet this week. Like really cleaned it. That is to say, let it soak overnight. It's a good habit to be in. So the first thing I want to point out about this Vallejo Metal Color is just, I want you to see how easy that goes on. Look at that. I mean, that's just smooth. Like, that is like butter. Okay, no chunkiness. Anybody who's ever shot metal through an airbrush, you'll know that, one of the big challenges is often that, frankly, it can kind of clump up. You've really got to rock the trigger to make it, like, actually come out, right? But, no, not here. Very fine control. No issues whatsoever. Just comes right out nice and smooth and even. Gives us a good, solid, smooth coat. Okay. Now on camera, he looks like really gold. This copper color, I can see it on the screen, looks like basically I'm spraying him in solid gold. It's not. It does look more coppery in reality. That is a bit of a trick of the light. But this is a fairly bright copper color, I will say, at the same time. Don't worry, we're going to fix it up. This is just going to be our base coat anyway. And as part of this product review, I'm going to kind of show you some of the different ways you can work with these metal colors. Because obviously, as I said before, your big limitation with these is that there's only 2 of them. You know, unlike the steel, which I previously reviewed, where you had like, you know, I don't know, there's 16 or something different types of steel in the line. With this, it's very much the case. Sorry, I was spraying them off camera there. With this, it's very much the case that you've basically got the copper and the gold. And that is all, folks. So it's really a case of like, they're good for bases, but you can't do as much finish work. So we've laid down, we need to get the bottoms of his feet. His little feetsies bottoms. I'm not really sure these are all supposed to be metal, like the bottom of his feet. The texture around the bottom of his feet is very strange. But whatever. For color balance purpose, they're going to be copper. Okay. And if you don't know what I mean by color balance, just go watch the previous video I did on color theory. Okay, so there we go. You can see how smooth that is. I mean, and that's how much it used. You saw how much there was at the beginning? That's how much I've got left. And that is a pretty solid coat he's got on him, too. You know, you can do a couple good coats. Again, on the camera, this looks very gold. But in reality, it has a really, really nice red tone that just is not getting picked up properly. I have to take my word for it. I'll put a picture in at the end. That way you can really see, hopefully, what it looks like. Okay. So let's clean out the airbrush here. Just go ahead and shoot the rest of that metal out. You can see no chunkiness, no clogging, no tip dry. The metal color, it really is like butter through your airbrush. It's just amazing. I've tried a lot of different metal paints through the airbrush, and you know, you either have to go to like a 0.5 needle, which is one solution for a lot of them. That'll sort of make it flow better, but that's annoying because then you either have to have a separate airbrush that's, you know, on a quick change, or you can like, you know, just basically swap it out, which is not a very quick process, I might add. That's even assuming you have a 0.5 needle. But this, right through the standard, you know, 3.5 millimeter needle, pretty much what comes standard for most of your model airbrushes. And it just, you know, flows straight through, no issue. Okay? So now I'm gonna show you kind of the other advantage of these metal colors. Even though you're much more limited with the copper and the gold, what's nice is that they do take washes and stuff like that really well. They interact well, they blend well. You know, they're acrylic paint. Okay, there's nothing weird here, like with say some of the other brands where when you've got alcohol based or something like that, where you can't shoot it through an airbrush. As you can see, you clearly can. Or you have other kinds of funniness where the paint is toxic or doesn't mix with acrylic, you know, based mediums and washes and stuff like that. Here, not a problem. So, I have just put in our old friend Mr. Agrak's Earthshade into the airbrush. This is something a lot of people, you know, this is an easy thing to shoot through your airbrush, your shades. I've mentioned in previous videos. And so I just want to show you kind of how easy this takes that wash. Now, obviously, I haven't let this dry a tremendous amount. I just sprayed it and we're going to go. And I'm going to shoot this from a low angle because I really want to shadow him. Make sure we got some good flow. We do. And I'm going to go nice and heavy. Okay, because it's a shade. It doesn't have a lot of effect. And if you get a little bit of run, that's okay. I'll probably do another, you know, you generally want to do a couple coats of something like this. But very easy. Just takes the wash right on, the shade right in. Tints really nicely under that shade. Again, I don't know how much of that's coming through on the camera. Not much. Okay, so I won't waste too much of your time with this since it doesn't show very well on camera. Instead, we will go... Instead, we will go to what I'm going to highlight him with, which to highlight him here out of the gate, because this guy's going to get several washes and base coats and weathering and stuff like that. Anytime you're working in metallics, it's important to have, you know, a lot of different sort of effects on there. Let me see if that looks darker on camera. It still looks kind of wet, but I don't know if you can see from there how bright he is versus from there. Yeah, you can kind of see that. So it takes those kind of shades really nicely. I'll probably do a manual wash with him as well, just to make sure we really get some good collection. But for right now, before we do that, let's highlight. So I'm actually just going to take a little bit of the copper again, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the gold line, okay? And what's interesting is you can use the two back and forth to get toward like a more of a bronze. You can mix it with you can mix these with the steel colors. And honestly, I think that that's probably the real intention of this, I'll say. I think they only made these two colors because they intend you to mix them with the various steels to kind of get what you want out of this line. You know, if you want to make a particular style of bronze or gold, they assume you're just going to kind of put in that color into the mix and mix it up. So what I did here is 1 drop of the copper to 2 drops of the gold, just very, very light, with a little bit of thinner, of course, in there. All right. So, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to, from above, we're going to give him a little highlight. And I found that this gold highlights this copper really nicely. You want to be gentle with it, because if you do too much, the figure's going to turn gold, and that's not really what we're aiming for with this guy. But especially at this step where I'm sort of pre the rest of my washes, it really looks nice. I don't know if you can see that transition there, but like down on his leg, right? You can see where that turns that bright gold color. It's subtle, and you don't want to do a lot of it. As with most things, the key to this is less is more. So, there we go. That's the product in use. As you can see, super smooth, super easy to apply. You know, the true limitation is obviously that you don't have a lot of choices. And so if you want to get into different tones of bronze or copper or anything like that, you're mixing your own. Either through a combination of the gold and the copper, or through a combination of them and one of the steel colors. That is the big limitation. But that being said, I do love these. I think they're an excellent gold. Their coverage is amazing, and they interact very well with the rest of the Metal Color line. So, hope you enjoyed, and as always, we'll see you next time. All right, and we're back at the desk. I realized I said see you next time, but then I never gave the final grade. So I thought I'd go ahead and wash these both down and show you how they look afterward. And you can see how, especially with this guy, once we just sort of hand apply to wash, how nice that all smooths out. Really just a great looking copper color, and you can get a lot of different tones out of it. There's how the armor looks with the highlights on it afterward. So, final thoughts on these two. They are great paints. I am not going to lie. They're smooth. Their coverage is amazing. They mix well. They shoot through an airbrush without an issue. You get a lot for your money. Biggest pushback is obviously the singular limitation that this is it. It's these two colors. So, if you're looking for just a solid copper and copper and gold, and you don't mind doing some mixing yourself to get different tones, these are a fantastic investment. If you're somebody who really wants to always be painting straight out of the pot and doesn't like a lot of mixing, well, probably not the right stuff for you. That being said, for me, they're definitely a strong A, and the only thing that keeps them from the A+ is the limited range. So, there you go. Now, hope you enjoy, and as always, we'll see you next time.